Okay. What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Coach Stutzer, dropping in to review a old ebook PDF thing I tried to make like literally 10 years ago. And I think it would be fun to kind of just go through it, see if I still hold some of the same views or if there's any like added context that I have to this document I made at that time. I would must have been 19 or something. So I'm 27 now. So somewhere around then. So anyways, let's jump into this video real quick. Hopefully you find it valuable. The topic of today is obviously fat loss because what do I talk about the most? Strategies, mindset, strength training, nutrition, all things surrounding or benefiting individuals' fat loss journey. So today's document is called Keys to Fat Loss by Kyle Stutzer. And the first thing I talk about in this document is understanding fat loss. There are common misconceptions between weight loss and fat loss meaning the same thing, or weight loss being somebody's goal, and people getting corrected by their coaches of like, I said weight loss, and my coach said, no, it's fat loss, and I said fat loss, and someone else said weight loss, and the words going hand in hand, things of that nature. But look, at the end of the day, there is a difference. Weight loss is, literally the number on a scale that can change and fluctuate day in and day out, up or down. Um, and then fat loss is the actual reduction of excess adipose tissue on your body. Okay. So we'll go through and read what I have here, but weight loss by definition is a reduction of the total body mass due to a mean loss of fluid, body fat, or adipose tissue or lean mass. So it could be a multitude of different things. Fat loss would strictly be the reduction of body fat or adipose tissue in the body, which will not always be indicated in the total body mass. And all that means is you might lose, 3 to 4 pounds of body fat, but you could still technically weigh the exact same weight still. So you may not see a change on the scale, but you may see a change physically, aesthetically in your the way your clothes fit, the way you feel, the way you look. But it may not be reflected on the scale, which is why you hear coaches, especially over the past 5 to 10 years, on social media, coaches who are trying to help people, change their mental framework around, fat loss, telling people to not like get stuck on the scale or weighing themselves every day and how that can be potentially damaging because it doesn't tell the full story. What do people see? What do you see people doing when they want to lose fat? Massive cut in calories and engage in large amounts of cardio, right? You were probably guilty of doing this at some point in your life too. I know I was before, I learned to do better. But most people, what they do is they're like, all right, I'm not going to eat breakfast anymore. I'm not going to eat dinner anymore. I'm just going to eat one meal a day, or I'm going to cut all carbs from my diet and I'm only going to eat, vegetables and meat, or I'm going to stop drinking soda. I'm going to stop eating fats and I'm only going to have breakfast. Like this massive cut in calories, drastic from, what they were doing yesterday and completely changing today, right? And then engaging in large amounts of cardio. We see people start to try to pick up running, often followed by injuries, or going to the stair climber for 60 minutes a day, right after or right before they do their lifts, and just doing excess amounts of cardio and doing massive cuts. This is not the way. Um, Although this will result in total body mass reduction, it has low overall health benefits, and it does not mean body fat percentage has been reduced. What happens instead is a large loss in muscle mass, especially if the protein intake is not there and the resistance training is not there, and you're focused solely on cutting calories massively and just doing cardio. 100% you're going to lose a ton of muscle mass, probably increase your total body fat percentage and or stay the same. So just listen closely to what we're talking about here. Um, but since the body needs energy, it holds on to already stored fat as much as possible to have an adequate energy store, right? Our body needs energy. So when we reduce the amount of energy coming in, on top of that, we're burning the energy that we have, but we don't have the fuel, the food to, you know, replace that energy. The body goes into survival mode and holds on to as much body fat as possible and starts in some extreme cases, catabolizing itself, kind of eating at muscle to supply the lack of energy it doesn't have, right? So, loss of muscle mass and a reduction of water in the body should never be the goal. Never. The goal should be overall a reduction of excess body fat. The scale will never tell the whole story. The goal is to focus on preserving muscle while we lose fat, right? When people say I want to look toned, what they're saying is I don't want to look all meaty and chubby, right? And they want to get rid of the flabber underneath their arms. They want to get underneath they want to uncover the muscle or what they call tone underneath all the fat, underneath the fat on their abs, underneath the fat on their arms, on their legs. They want to see more tone. All they're saying and all that means for you people out there who say that, I'm not going to say don't use the word tone, but the reality is tone is you're just trying to reveal the lean muscle mass that is hidden currently by the body fat you have over it, right? Okay. That tone, the curvature, the line, the little line in your arm, that is just muscle tissue that you're trying to reveal to the world and to yourself by reducing body fat from your body. Um, so that's kind of understanding fat loss and the difference between weight loss and fat loss. So you'll see a little, if you're watching this on YouTube and not just listening to it, you'll see a little image there on the side. Weight loss typically happens through crash dieting and improper training or just life. Fat loss typically happens with, correct nutritional adjustments and strength training, right? So weight loss, when people are talking about weight loss, typically they see decreased fitness, decreased strength, poor performance, early aging, reduced immunity. And when we have a healthy approach to fat loss where we're still getting adequate amount of carbohydrates, vegetables, fats, proteins, and we're still getting enough just in a caloric deficit, but still with healthy whole foods and strength training and doing some cardio and trying our best to get high quality sleep, then there's a potential to see improved fitness, potential to see greater strength. That's a deeper topic. Um, um, you're going to be leaner in a healthier state at the end of the day. Let's see. Let's move on. Positives of fat loss and muscle gain. Nearly 70% of the United States is overweight or obese. What's the percentage of 12 to 17-year-olds who are overweight has doubled since 1980. This information could have changed. This is 9 years ago. This could be better, could be worse. With the rise of GLP-1s in 2024, there has been a dent put in the obesity population and people actually making progress by taking these medications and hopefully pairing it with resistance training and high quality nutrition choices. But at the time of this creation, and probably not too big of a change, nearly 70% or more of the United States is overweight or obese. Fat loss. Benefits of fat loss: increased mobility, decreased risk of organ failure, improved circulatory health, decreased risk of heart disease. And by all metrics and data we see, health can be drastically improved by simply just losing body fat. Not changing anything else, but just losing body fat, the health of an individual can increase drastically. Um, Muscle gain, benefits of muscle gain: reduces body fat and increases lean body mass, increased bone density and strength, encourages correct posture or more, encourages perfected or improved posture would be a better way to say that. Increases metabolism. Muscle requires more energy, right, to exist. Increases the strength of tendons and ligaments in the body, which are obviously beneficial to avoiding injury and being able to take on, the physical forces of life as we get older. All right, let's scroll down. Boom. I don't know how to do this. All right, nutrition, diet. So we're just going to quickly touch on diets here. These are some of the most popular diets that were out when I made this Google slide or this PDF document. So we have the paleo diet, veganism, low carb diet, keto. So the paleo diet, some of you guys may have heard of if you were really into CrossFit. In the past 10 to 15 years, it's really popular in that niche in that space. Emphasizes whole foods, lean protein, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds while discouraging processed food, sugar, dairy, and grains. Gets a little bit, it's more intense than that, but nonetheless, there you go. Veganism, eliminating meat. It eliminates dairy, eggs, and animal-derived products such as gelatin, honey, albumin, whey, casein. So that's a diet you've probably heard somebody go on. Low carb diet, definitely you've probably tried to do yourself or heard one of your parents go on, which is emphasizing unlimited amounts of protein and fat while severely limiting your carb intake, like under 50 or sometimes 0 grams of carbohydrates daily. And then keto deprives the body of carbohydrates for fuel. Instead, The body uses ketone bodies, a type of fuel that the liver produces from stored fat. You definitely heard of keto. Um, the note I put out down here is the most important thing to read on this page, though. These listing these diets is not about these are some different diets you should try, or these are some different diets you should do as an individual. They're just simply diets, and all diets work as long as you are in a caloric deficit. Point blank, period. No matter what fucking diet you try, if you are eating in a caloric surplus, or you're eating at a caloric maintenance, enough calories to sustain the energy that you're burning throughout the day, you will stay the same weight and gain weight if you're in a surplus, stay the same way if you're in maintenance. But if you are in a caloric deficit, no matter what you eat, all diets work in regards to losing weight, let's say, and losing some body fat. But there's other things that need to be considered when we're trying to optimize for strictly fat loss, right? Especially from a nutritional intake standpoint. None will work if you are not in a calorie deficit. And so at the end of the day, find what works for you and stick to it. One of these diets might be how you currently eat right now. You didn't even identify it as a diet because it's just the lifestyle that's worked for you the past 10 years, and you've never said a day in your life that you're a vegan or low carb or keto or paleo. You just eat this way. It's worked for you, and that's fine. You don't need to identify it as a diet. This is just a diet is just a way somebody eats for whatever their goal is, to stay the same weight and just be a healthy and energized human being, to put on muscle mass, to perform for a sporting event. Like, a diet is just how someone chooses to eat or live their lifestyle from a food consumption standpoint. Let's talk a little bit about quality and quantity. When it comes to nutritional habits, the quality of food you eat and the quantity of food you eat are extremely important, whether losing fat or trying to build muscle mass. Okay. High quality foods that are rich in nutrients such as legumes, whole grains, fruits, nuts, veggies are imperative for your health, and they contribute to increases in human performance, both physical and brain function, heart function, internal health. After all, this is what I wrote here. After all, what good is a six pack or a toned body if you constantly feel sick, less energized, and groggy, right? Six pack, walking around super lean, super jacked. Who gives a shit if you feel like shit? Who gives a shit if you feel like shit? Who gives a shit if you feel like shit? Sing with me, baby. Who gives a shit if you feel like shit? Who gives a anyway? Yeah. Y'all get it. Y'all get it, right? So quantity of food you eat is extremely important as well, just like we discussed in the last slide. Calories in versus calories out. You've heard it over and over again. Sometimes it's used as like just a blanket statement, and people just leave it there. Oh, it's easy to lose fat. It's easy to put on muscle. Calories in, calories out. That's not true. But like from a scientific, like physiological, biological standpoint, calories in versus calories out. The quantity of food you eat matters, especially when it comes to fat loss, body weight maintenance, or putting on muscle, aka hypertrophy. Being able to have an understanding of the amount of calories you're taking in is imperative to your overall health. You can still get fat if you are eating healthy in a calorie surplus, even though it's very challenging to do that. But yes, you can still get fat. And you can still get lean eating low quality foods in a calorie deficit. We saw this happen like big. It's still kind of big on the internet, but it had its phase, and it'll have its phase again in the future. You guys might have heard of it, IIFYM or something like that, if it fits your macros, which is the idea. Basically, the whole diet was around like, yo, eat whatever you want as long as it fits your macros. If you have 10 Pop Tarts a day, a fucking shake from McDonald's, and you're still in a caloric deficit, awesome, because you're still going to lose weight, which is a fact. You could still pretend, and if you're getting enough protein in, eating shitty, and you're strength training, you're not going to feel good, and your body composition and your aesthetics aren't going to look as good as they would look, but hypothetically, technically, you could still get lean. So it's really important to understand the difference between quality versus quantity, and understand the power of quantity and the power of quality. You want to keep track of calorie intake no matter your goal. Now, this does not mean you have to count calories all your life, facts, but I do highly suggest that for a few months you track your calories closely in order to build a solid foundational understanding of your daily calorie and macronutrient intake. This will inevitably help you make smart nutritional choices in the future that are in line with your current goals. At the end of the day, all I'm saying in that paragraph is, look, take 14 to 21 days to intensely track your macros. Like, everything you eat, try your best to track weigh it, scale it, pack it, be very aware of what you're eating for those 2 to 3 weeks. That way you get a strong understanding of what your current lifestyle is like, you can make an adjustment, and then you'll have a better understanding of like if you're not tracking things, you can be like, look at the salmon, and you can be like, all right, give or take, this is about 4 to 6 ounces, something of that nature, 4 to 6 ounces, and you're like, yo, uh, I'm probably eating enough protein. I'm having enough of a serving of protein right now because I have a good idea of how much salmon this is, right? Or how much ground beef this is, or I'm not having enough protein, or this is probably too much rice for the amount of carbohydrates I'm trying to take in today, whatever. You'll just have a better understanding by eyeballing it if you spend like a month or two just intensely tracking. So definitely recommend that for literally everybody. Um, all right. Finding maintenance calories. First off, we got to define what is maintenance calories. Calorie maintenance, the total amount of calories required on a daily basis to maintain your body weight with no gains or losses in fat and or muscle tissue. Okay. So calorie maintenance, total amount of calories you need to eat to stay the same weight, no gains or losses in fat or muscle tissue, right? Hypothetically. In order to choose a calorie deficit for you to adhere to in your fat loss journey, you need to understand and estimate your calorie maintenance so you know where to add from or subtract from, right? So we'll dive into that a little bit later. As said in the previous slide, it is not possible to get an exact number of how many you burn a day, but it's absolutely necessary to get an estimate and adjust from there, right? Um, so the methods that are on the screen right here are two methods I learned from Mike Vacanti. Great trainer, used to be Gary Vaynerchuk's trainer back in the day, somebody I followed early on in my career about 7 to 8 years ago. Um, I'll go through it, but to be honest, I use a much more like simpler metric now and adjust from there, just keep shit simple. But yeah, let's jump into that. So first, we want to identify your body type. Okay, ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. I don't really do that personally anymore. Um, but nonetheless, you try to get a good understanding of your client or yourself. Like, do I have a fast metabolism, skinny, and I have trouble gaining weight? Like, uh, typically, that's only young men and women. It's not like people who are like 40, 50. It's not the case, but sometimes it's still the case for them too. Endomorphs, slow metabolism, gain muscle and fat faster than ectomorphs, often solid, short, and stocky. These are typically like individuals who, it just said it right there. So, mesomorphs, athletic body type, metabolism falls in the middle. I'll call myself that. I don't like gain fat really fast or gain weight really fast, and I don't lose or uh, burn body fat really fast, and I don't put on muscle really fast or lose muscle mass really fast. So just a general athletic body type, my metabolism's chill, right? Choose which one best fits you, and then you'll have a better estimate for one of these simple methods. So I will say I use a little bit different numbers than what's shown here, but I do use a simple method of I take my body weight and I multiply it by a multiplier to get my maintenance calories. So here we have ectomorphs times 16 to 17, 13 to 14 for endomorphs, or 15 for mesomorphs. I really just do like, if I'm going for a surplus, I'm multiplied by like 14, anywhere between 14 and 17 times my body weight. And then like if I'm doing a cut and I'm trying to lose some body fat, I do it times 10 or 11. And then I input those macronutrients, break down, calories, break down the percentage of the macronutrients I'm going to do, and then I just adjust as the month goes on. If I'm losing fat or body weight too fast, and I feel like I'm potentially losing muscle mass as well, I'll maybe add one to the multiplier I used for my deficit. And on the flip side, if I'm gaining weight too fast, like if I'm getting 4 pounds a week, then that's way too drastic of a multiplier. So I'll take 1 or 2 points away from that and see if it slows down the speed of which I'm, the rate of weight gain, right? So that's kind of what I do, but you can use these right here. If you're a mesomorph, you're trying to find your maintenance, try 15, 13, and 14. Again, at the end of the day, it's always going to be an estimate. There is no perfect calculator, so I would just start here and then adjust from there. So boom, the less simple method would be doing body weight times 11 for men. And then like within your age group and your body type, you could use one of these as a multiplier. You'd take like whatever you get from body weight times 11 and multiply it. Let's just say I got 2,000. I would multiply it by 0.3 because I'm a mesomorph and under the age of 29. And then that would give me, my B. Then I would add that to my A, and that would give my A plus B matrix. Long story short, I would just screenshot the screen right now. If you want to use this And that was all far too confusing. Literally, I'm just going to pause for the next 10 seconds, screenshot the screen, take a photo of it on your phone, and you can kind of go do the math on your own. So I'm going to give us a moment of silence for 10 seconds for you to do that right now. Ding, dong, 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 dong. All right. Hopefully you screenshotted it, took a photo. Moving on. All right. Deciding on a calorie deficit. As we discussed in the previous slide, the quantity of food consumed on a daily basis will add up and will have an effect on your training goals. So you may be asking yourself, how do I know how many calories to consume? Let's talk about it. First, let me start by saying that there is no perfect method to calculating caloric maintenance. I literally just said that to you guys, so here I am saying it again. Being that a caloric maintenance can change from day to day depending on calorie intake, your activity level, your current body weight. Every person is different. You and your neighbor are not going to be the same. Stop being like, oh, this is what I did. You should go do that and find what works for you by testing. Trial and error, baby. Trial and error. So keep an eye on your rate of fat loss or muscle gain, in your depending on who you are. If things plateau for over a month because your body adapted, then you may want to slightly increase your deficit or change that multiplier from the last page that you just took a picture from, right? Identify realistic timeline for goals. Are you trying to lose fat for a special event coming up? How far away is the event? What is the realistic fat loss goal during that timeline? Or are you trying to create long-lasting, sustainable fat loss goals? No time limit. The reason why that's important is if you are looking for long-lasting and sustainable fat loss goals, please, for the love of God, take this shit slow. You want to hold on to as much muscle mass as possible. Ideally, if you're a beginner in the gym, if you're first time doing a process like this, you want to even potentially recomp, which is building muscle while still losing fat. And you're only going to do that if you take it slow, make really good health decisions, and just make it a process that's easier to commit to and stay committed to and sustainable with for a long period of time. Now, on the other hand, if you have a wedding in 4 weeks and you really want to get lean for that wedding, there are some extreme strategies you can do that may not be the best for your health, but they might help you hit your goal. And so that is an option. So you need to understand, like, what is my genuine goal here? Understand the realistic timeline and make a decision from there, right? So like if you want to go on a bigger cut because it's 4 weeks from now that you have to prepare for an event or for a photo shoot, you might do body weight times 10 instead of, body weight times, 12 for a cut, right? To get your deficit calories, right? So just an example of why you should be aware of realistic timelines for whatever goal you have. Short-term fat loss goal, large. So here we go talking about that. Large 30 to 50%. Look, they talking about my phone going to die, ladies and gentlemen. I got 10% battery, so I'm about to speed up my talking. Short-term fat loss goal. So large 30 to 50% deficit. A large deficit like this should be only for those who are extremely motivated and have solid mental toughness. David Goggins, get hard. And don't have an unhealthy relationship with food now or in the past. Very important. If you've had unhealthy relationships with food in the past or currently, you should not have any short-term fat loss goals, do any extreme calorie deficit, and should strongly consider whether or not it is a smart idea right now for you to be tracking your macronutrients and calories intensely, right? So just be mindful of that. These large deficits should only be used for specific short-term fat loss goals, movies, weddings, things of that nature. That you want to be a certain weight for a certain event, fights, if you're in UFC, MMA, boxing. Oftentimes difficult to sustain afterwards, and when returned to maintenance, will gain back weight loss from decreasing glycogen stores. Likely, you're going to gain all the weight you lost back after a short-term deficit. Be mindful of that. Be aware for it. Be aware of it. Be prepared for it. Just know what comes with the journey that you're getting on, right? That is for a short-term fat loss goal. Long-term and sustainable fat loss goals. Moderate 20 to 30% deficit, more balanced and sustainable fat loss. Still will have a decent rate of fat loss. You could looking at like it says I put 5 to 6 libs a month here. I would probably say on the 3 to 4 lib a month range, if I'm being honest. Most people aren't that consistent throughout the month, so their rate of fat loss isn't necessarily a pound a week or more than a pound a week, typically a little bit less than that. So be mindful of that. But again, it's good because it's slow, steady. You're able to build true, genuine habits that are going to be sustainable for the future once you hit your goal and you're trying to sustain that current weight. So much more recommended pace, much more recommended deficit, much more recommended pathway. Able to maintain muscle mass and you have less of a metabolic impact on the body, which means your hormones don't get all fucked up. So I'd obviously recommend that. Here's an example. So college, I guess at the time of making this in 7 years, 8 years ago, was 215-pound male. And using the chart from a few slides ago, my multiplier would be 0.4 at that time. So I did my body weight times 11 because I was a mesomorph and I was trying to get my maintenance calories, which gave me 2365. I multiplied the 2365 by the multiplier given to me for my age group, which was 0.4, and that gave me 946. I added those two numbers together to get my maintenance calories of 3311. So what does that mean? That means if I ate exactly 3,311 calories every day, hypothetically, as long as that is in the right range, I would stay the same weight without gaining or losing body fat or muscle mass, right? And then I would cut from there. So if I want to go into a 500 calorie deficit, I would go start eating 2,800 calories a day to try to go into a deficit, right? If I want to add a surplus, then I'd add on top of that. I would say that's a little high for where I'm at in my life right now. I would probably say my maintenance calories is a little bit lower than that, but it doesn't matter. Now I say I want to be in a moderate deficit of 30%. 30% of 3311 will be at 994 calorie deficit, which will put me at 2317 calories per day. Boom. So that was an example. Screenshot it, use it. If you want this PDF document, you can also just email me. I'll provide that information here in a second. Let's talk about macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, fats. How do you find how much you should be eating per day? I'm going to go through this super fast because, like I said, my phone's about to die. But again, if you want this email to you or if you want a screenshot right now, please do. Body weight times 0.75 to 1.25. That is how I get my protein. If you are new to training, extremely overweight, or have a high body fat percentage, or you have a lot of health issues, do body weight times 0.75 and eat that many grams of protein per day. 1.0 if you're average body fat, average health, moderate health, most universal choice, where most people will set their protein at. Body weight times 1, except if you're an extremely obese individual, in which case you would probably want to do your ideal body weight times 1 and eat that amount of grams in body fat. Protein. And then 1.5 if you are extremely lean already, shredded, and this is really good for physique competitors that are trying to sustain as much muscle mass as possible and are getting leaner closer to the show. Then you can go 1.5, sometimes even higher to 2. Finding fat, body weight times 0.3 to 0.4. If carbs are life and you really love carbs, you want to leave some extra calories on the table for carbs, then you'll probably go lower for fat. So do body weight times 0.3, 0.35 if it's whatever you just have no preference, like me, I don't care. 0.4 if you love fats, like foods that are really fatty and prefer that more than carbs, you'd go 0.4. I go 0.3 here. Remember this number because we'll be using it later. And then carbohydrates. This is where we bring it all together. So we're going to break down these numbers. Again, take a screenshot if need be, pause the video, read this, or just email me and I will send you this PDF document. Daily calorie goal, 2,317 calories per day to be in that deficit, like you guys just saw. We're going to do 215 times 1 gram. That's 215 grams of protein, and that's 860 calories from protein. 215 times 0.3 for fats. That's 65 grams of fats, 585 calories from fats. Now, that's where carbs will be found, so pay close attention. Proteins plus fats puts us at 1445 calories for the day. So the remainder of calories left over will be from carbohydrates. We get that number by subtracting 1445 from the daily calorie goal of 2317. These are 872. There are 4 calories in each gram of carbs, so we take 872 divided by 4. That puts us at 218 grams of carbs per day. The result is right here in the corner: 218 grams of carbs, 215 protein, fat 65 for my total calories of the day of 2317. Okay. Didn't make sense? Go back, rewind it, pause, screenshot, email me, ask for this document, or we can get on a free consultation call and I can help you with this process. Conclusion. I'm going to go really fast here, and then I'm going to wrap this video up. Share it with a friend. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. Send it to all your friends who are trying to lose fat. If you need extra assistance, like just going through this process and understanding a little bit better, I'm happy to jump on a call with you. Go to the link in my bio on Instagram or Twitter, and you will be able to find a booking link to book a call with me, or you can just DM me on any platform, Collis Stutzer Training or Collis Stutzer, COLLISSTUTZER. Boom. In conclusion, pay attention to reduction in body fat percentage, not scale weight. Boom. Whether in a calorie deficit or surplus, there should be a huge emphasis on high quality food intake. Please eat high quality foods. All diets works just as long as you're in a deficit, so choose a sustainable diet that makes you feel the best and stick to it. Boom. We want to drop body fat and maintain lean muscle mass, and or if you're a beginner, potentially recomp and put on some extra lean muscle mass. So 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and strength train 2 to 4 times a week. That what's not measured is not managed. Count calories, body fat measurements using body fat calipers or DEXA scans or InBodies, tape measurements, whatever. But you got to track and see if you're making progress, or else what is the point? Lower body fat percentage and higher activity levels result in huge increases of overall health. Please contact me with any questions or concerns at the email listed below. Coach, STUTZER at gmail.com. Bow. Thank you for watching. And yeah, run this back a few times if you need to. Take some notes, share with a friend. I appreciate you watching today. God bless America and God bless you. Peace.